Hey everybody on YouTube, I am back. I'm in Massachusetts and this is a little haul video. First of all, I have to thank a few channels, a few people for their words of encouragement and for sending me some love and some YouTube internet hugs. I know in my radical self-love video I kind of got real for a second and talked about how living apart and living far away from my husband and from my family in general is really hard, and so I just have to thank Health of Happy, Tiny Seed, Andraste Triformis, and of course Travis at the Pagan Scholar for your words of encouragement and for your support. It really helped. I felt the love. So, it's been a kind of a crazy week so far. Last Thursday I got back to Massachusetts, and then the very next day my parents came. They drove up from Kentucky to visit my mom's family in New York, and turns out my mom's family, they're mostly in Dutchess County. They're only about a 4 or 5 hour drive away from where I'm at in Boston, so they came over to help me out for the weekend, and we got 2 things at IKEA. It was my first time at IKEA. Holy shit, that place is amazing. Already, I'm planning like how to decorate my dream house. So even though it probably won't be like 7 or 10 years until I can afford to buy a house, but whatever. I have it in here. So the first thing we got at IKEA was this bookshelf, because my other bookshelf over here is full. So, and believe it or not, I had to leave some books in Georgia with my husband, so the books keep coming. So that bookshelf was only $29. Holy shit, that's awesome. And you guys right now are on top of my coffee table. It's just a plain, simple, black coffee table to kind of match my cheap Target futon. But the coffee table is only 25 bucks. That's awesome. That's, those are prices I can live with. And I also, as a splurge, got this beautiful decorative pillow filled with duck feathers, I think. This was only $20 at IKEA. Just to give some back support when I'm sitting here reading for class. So, that was Saturday. And then Sunday and Monday, we drove to Gorham, New Hampshire. Now, backstory on this. My grandmother, the same grandmother whose tarot cards I own, the grandmother from my grandmother's heirlooms haul video, she was originally from Gorham, New Hampshire, and her family goes back generations in that area, and it's a gorgeous area. It's only about a 3 or 4 hour drive from the Boston area. So we decided to go there and spend a night just to see Gorham. We found the house my grandmother grew up in. I found, and I wrote down all the names of my ancestors, like my great-great-great-grandparents. I found their graves in one of the cemeteries there. But the main reason we went there was because when my grandmother died back in 2000, she didn't really specify what we should do with her ashes. She just, let us decide that. And my grandfather, the one that died back in June, we contemplated burying her ashes with him. But we ultimately decided that wouldn't be right, because even though my grandfather was a wonderful grandfather to me and my sister, he was not a good husband or a good father. Let's just say that. So we thought it would be more justified and respectful for my grandmother to be buried with her ancestors up in New Hampshire. So my parents arranged that, and that was really special for me to be there, to say finally goodbye to her remains, her ashes, and just to see where she was from, where my roots are. So while we were up in New Hampshire, I got a few things. First of all, a little gift for me and my husband, some local New Hampshire syrup, maple syrup, pure amber grade A maple syrup, and it even has the guy's name and phone number. He made this in Randolph, New Hampshire. And Gorham, New Hampshire, if you've never been, or you've never been in that part of the country, it's probably somewhere between 50 to 100 miles from the Canadian border, so it's up there. And it's also at the foot of Mount Washington, which is the tallest peak this side of the Mississippi. And also the Appalachian Trail goes through there. It's because it's at the northern edge of the Great White Mountains National Forest. So when you go there, it's a little tiny town of less than 3,000 people. And you'll see hikers everywhere, and you'll hear people speaking Canadian French. It's really awesome. So in one of the gift shops I got this. Since I now have a coffee table, I can decorate it with this, and plus the fact, you know, I bought this in the town where my grandmother grew up is significant for me. And then the last thing I got there, this is kind of a joke gift, a gag gift for my husband. We went to an antique store in Gorham, or it's actually between the towns of Gorham and Berlin. Berlin is where the paper factory was, and that's where my great-grandfather used to work. So this great little antique store, I found this book, and this book is from 1929, and I got it for my husband because my husband is from Chile, and he didn't come to the United States until he was already 27 or 28 years old. So he didn't learn English until he was an adult, and for those of you who have tried to learn languages as adults, you'll know it's really freaking hard. So it's kind of cute. He still makes some spelling mistakes, or he'll use the wrong preposition. And he tells me to correct him, and I do, but I like that. I think it's kind of cute. So I got him this, a junior and senior high school speller from 1929. And it's actually a fascinating little book. Like, it gives a whole list of Latin prefixes and suffixes and root words and, you know, when to double letters and whatnot. All these different lists of words and descriptions, you know, things that nowadays no one takes the time to learn or teach unless you're a linguist. So, at least not in public schools. But yeah, so I got this as a little gag gift for him. It was $5. Okay, and so when I came back to, or when we came back to my apartment in Massachusetts on Monday, I waited for my parents to leave because I'm still kind of in the broom closet with them. Even though I left my altar upstairs intact, they just didn't say anything. That's kind of my parents' style. Just, you do you. And they saw this tattoo for the first time. It's like, okay, you do you. Anyway, so when they left yesterday, was it yesterday? Yeah, yesterday, I decided to do some retail therapy. Because I needed notebooks for class, and I also wanted to get some crystals, because since I have this new coffee table, I would love to keep some crystals down here on the first floor of my, it's this loft, one-bedroom-ish apartment, because I have a crystal grid on my altar upstairs, but I like having larger, like palm-sized crystals near where I'm working. If I'm studying or writing a paper, just having them in my hand kind of helps me think clearly and feel grounded. So first I went to Whole Foods, and I have mixed feelings about Whole Foods, but it's the closest place to my apartment where I can get incense. So I got my two favorite incenses, you know, Nag Champa. And this is just my everyday, you know, burn it once or twice a day kind of incense. And then my very, very, very most favoriteest incense ever, which is Botanical Creations Essential Oil Incense Sticks, frankincense and myrrh. I don't know if you can see that. Yeah. This smells amazing. I love the frankincense and myrrh. It just, maybe it's because I grew up Catholic and, you know, an Easter vigil and during funerals and stuff, they burn incense and this is what it smells like. So maybe just that weird association is there, but it, I use this for special occasions or special rituals. So then I went down to the campus bookstore to get some of my favorite notebooks. Let me grab one for you. So I know the Moleskine notebooks are like the shit or whatever, but they're fucking expensive and I don't want to spend like $20 for an 80-page notebook. So instead, I want something small because I don't take that many notes in class in general, and something small will last me the whole semester. So this Shinola, I can't say it, but it's from Detroit, American made. These, you know, they're paper notebooks, but they have, you know, beautiful just lined paper, and for the price of one Moleskine, you can get 2 of these. So I got 4 because I have 4 classes left. Thank you, baby Jesus. I'm so tired of taking classes. This is my 5th year of taking classes at the graduate level. I'm burnt out. I'm ready to take my exams and start writing. So anyway, I got those notebooks. And then I went down to my most favoritist esoteric, witchy, new agey bookstore. It's the only bookstore that's fairly close to where I live, actually. I think Salem, Massachusetts has like the monopoly in all the witchy, weird shops. So actually in the Cambridge area, there aren't that many. Or at least I haven't been able to find them. And keep in mind, I don't have a car up here, so I need to find places that I can get to easily through public transportation, bus and metro, right? So this is on the Red Line, on the T. For those of you who are familiar with Boston, you'll recognize that. And it's in Cambridge. It's straight down Massachusetts Avenue. If you go past Harvard Square and all that and you keep going down. And this place is called 7 Stars Bookshop. And I love this place. It has an excellent selection of books, but it also has an excellent selection of crystals. So if you're in the Cambridge, Boston area, you should definitely check this place out. Unfortunately, you're not going to find things like incense there. It's strictly books and crystals. But that's what I wanted yesterday when I was doing my retail therapy, so that's what I got. So to keep on my coffee table, I already had this crystal. This is my favorite amethyst crystal. This is one of the first crystals I bought like 3 years ago. And it just, you know, it spoke to me. Everybody says that about their crystals. But the interesting thing is when I reached into the display cabinet to pick it up, and I bought this in Georgia, by the way. When I reached in the display cabinet to pick it up, the second my thumb touched it, it felt like an electric shock went down my arm. So that's how I knew, like, oh, this shit is speaking to me. I should pick this one up. So I already had this one, but I wanted 3 other crystals about this size to keep on my coffee table down here. And that was a smoky quartz, a rose quartz, and a citrine. So all these are in the quartz family. I really like the quartz family. So I found a fairly decent sized piece of smoky quartz. I have kind of long fingers, so keep that in mind. And it's just gorgeous. I love this piece. A nice thick piece of smoky quartz. I found a fairly good piece, or a good sized piece of citrine. I don't know if you can see this. Right. I like it that it kind of looks like a landscape of a mountain range. And, you know, both sides of my family come from mountainous regions, Appalachian, Kentucky, and then the mountains in New Hampshire. So I'm a mountain person. And then this huge, well, it's a pretty big chunk of rose quartz, and I love rough cut stones. I'm not really into polished crystals, especially the larger crystals. So this is a rough cut of rose quartz that's just gorgeous, and it's, you know, a good size. So I got these for my coffee table because they each represent 4 very important aspects of my life. And this is how I make the associations, in my head. Amethyst for spirituality. Third eye stone, right? Smoky quartz for grounding. Right? Grounding, getting back down to reality. I think of grounding like a tree with really deep roots, you know. The winds and storms of life aren't going to blow me away because I'm firmly rooted, not just, you know, in who I am, but in what I want to do and who I want to become, right? Rose quartz for love and the power of love. And citrine for abundance of health, wealth, and wisdom. So more of the how should I say this? The material well-being part of life. So I got the spiritual, the grounding, the love, and the material well-being, all right here on my coffee table. So after getting those crystals at the 7 Stars bookshop, I couldn't help but peruse. And since I made my first kind of practice batch of ointment or salves that I mentioned before in another video, I've been getting into herbs, and I need like a good resource to go to about like which herbs to use for what. And so this book is from 1998, so in this bookshop they sell new and used books. And this big ass book was only 14 bucks. So it's a pretty thick, big book, and it's exactly what I was looking for. It's the Rodale's Illustrated Encyclopedia of Herbs. And I know probably when I upload this video, this image is going to be backwards because I'm having trouble recording videos on my iMovie application because the sound and the video track get off tempo with each other, I guess is the best way I can describe it. I've tried looking up online, like lowering your computer volume and stuff like that, but nothing seems to work. So I'm actually recording this in the Mac photo booth application. So unfortunately the images are probably going to be backwards, but you guys can figure it out. But this is exactly what it says it is. It's an encyclopedia. This is marjoram, for example. And it gives, you know, the aromatic qualities, the ornamental qualities, cosmetic, craft, and dyeing qualities, cultivation, harvest, and storage. This is marshmallow. It gives the medicinal uses, the culinary uses, you know, the history of the herb. So, an A to Z herb guide. So that's going to become very helpful because here soon I'm planning on making some salves and creams for my friend who is pregnant, whose baby is due in November. So, that was my first little haul up here in Massachusetts and New Hampshire. Thanks you guys for watching, and blessed be.